Well, ar an gédal sios tá fircin fóidir ó bhilig do áras an Uachtaráin agus tá riméid arm gulméid an ócáid seo éagrú I beach an Uachtaráin agus dar nói mar a chuala sibh tá bhí arin na hocaid éasúile a chur ar á lód a gá bhliain do bhór na méid a bhí teastáil in trí COVID-19. May I say first of all how welcome you all are, all of you, to Áras an Uachtaráin, and how pleased Sabina and I are to be able to have this ceremony here in Áras an Uachtaráin. I think that, as I have just said, for the last couple of years, a great deal of our work has been virtually delivered insofar as we weren't able to do many things because of the complying with the restrictions of COVID-19. But here we all are, and you're here in Áras de Chiada, which, of course, this room is named in the honour of the very first President of Ireland, Críovan Even Douglas de Chiada. I'm the 9th President of Ireland. I must say what it is wonderful that we're able to be presenting the awards for 2 years, and I very much want to thank in the beginning, perhaps to thank Yvonne in particular. Yvonne, who heads up Gaisce, her CV is an astounding one. We're very fortunate to have such a talented and qualified person who has so much expertise picked up in various academic institutions here and abroad, but also in addition to that is the very essence of what Gaisce is about, and that is it's about volunteering, it's about making connection with others. If I might just do, first of all, I want to thank Colin Keegan for his speech. These lines, words, poets are very, very important. One of the functions of poetry is to distill what is important, and the other is, I think, in a way, to be far-seeing, to see what is coming. And poets always, in fact, reveal what it is that people might be hiding, but they also see what is coming. I think these words of Brendan Kennelly's, which I know, where that poem runs on actually is it speaks about creating yourself is never about yourself. Creating yourself depends essentially on creating yourself through others. And all of the work, and John Cannon knows this in my conversations with the Council of Gaisce in recent times, has been about why are we always seeking to extend the reach of Gaisce all of the time. We've been doing that very deliberately. I think of groups we have to try and reach all of the time. And I think that it is when Gaisce is succeeding, it's succeeding when it's extending the boundaries of its inclusion all of the time. I'm delighted as well, that we're being streamed, that I would say I want to pay tribute to all of those parents, Natish Mahori, agus Edson of agus Kumakuin Rauder Kaurak, and all of those who have assisted our gold recipients in any way. I think this is, maybe we have said it's such a Kedurivi and Kocha Agre in Áras an Uachtaráin. While this is a first for us here to have gold ceremonies in Áras an Uachtaráin, we have had ceremonies in so many different places, and they are all aimed, if you like, at widening continually the reach of Gaisce. We've had presentation ceremonies in community training colleges, with disability organisations, in prisons and in direct provision. And all of these occasions have been impressive. And what's left at the end of it, I remember when I visited the presentation ceremony in the prison, I was very anxious to hear the prisoners' own view of what they had achieved. And really it was about perseverance, a resolve, a willingness to undertake challenges that is there in young people, and which defines all those who have successfully completed their journey to achieving the highest of the Gaisce Awards, the Gold Awards. But people have come through the Silver Awards, and they've come through, it's a very distinguished journey. At the heart of the Gaisce Gold recipient stories, they're ones to have something that was very important, When I became president in 2011, one of the very first projects I initiated was a consultation with young people. We spoke to 800 young people in different circumstances. Young people who were in prison, for example, who couldn't come out. I visited them, and some provided me with audio tapes and so on. And the one thing about it in that year, 2011, when we were coming out of the recession of 2008, and I have to tell you that in all the consultation, north and south, throughout the entire island, issues of equality and issues of respect for others were never out of the top three. And I called it, in a way, it was an ethical conversation on what would be. Then I asked them the question, what would be ethics for you? And they used words like respect, and they used words like equality, and they used words like sharing. And it was all beyond the self. And it was in complete contrast to what had happened in the previous decade and a half, where the emphasis had been on individualism. And what it revealed was something very, very important, that there was an instinct and a moral consciousness in the young people of Ireland that had been to some extent forgotten in the assertions of accumulation at a personal level and all of that. But it was a great source of hope, and it is there, and this is reflected in all of the people today who have been receiving gold awards. Going for gold, Gaisce Gold, is not an easy undertaking, but it can be a greatly rewarding one, and in not just for the self, but for others. Working on one's own initiative to remain motivated and focused in pursuit of an important goal, and to play a generous and active role. The whole thrust of what I have been describing so far was about participating in an ethical society, but realizing as well that we had a responsibility to look at what was blocking other people's participation. And that's really why I have kept the message, and I continually make to the Council of Gaisce. We must look always at who we're not yet including. And I think, for example, Gaisce's Council has responded, and it has broadened the reach of Gaisce, and I'm very, very grateful to that. But I often think, for example, when I read reports and others, what young people will write to me about, we still have quite a long way to go in relation to, for example, young people's mental health issues. We have quite a long way to go as well in relation to, in particular, groups, issues like that within particular groups, such as, for example, members of the traveller community. I was so pleased that time with that. There was such a good result to that being, we called it being young and Irish. And I think I just want to say that this word shared came out of the children, that came out of the young people's stories. It was about crafting a democracy. What does it mean to be living in a democracy? So, and every now and again, the whole pace of the impact of technology. Young people actually people like of your age are so interesting. You're probably the first generation that are taking seriously the social responsibilities of technology. That it isn't only being able to access information, but it is also about making sure that information is used responsibly and ethically and with care for others, and is not used abusively. And how important it is globally that technology is shared, not just by rich countries, but by those who in fact actually own particular patents, but that it is shared by all citizens. I think, therefore, what Gaisce has achieved in its most recent work, in a way, is a significant move beyond limiting individualism. And the idea that you should be brilliant just for yourself is an invitation to misery. It will be, in fact, actually be a heady experience for a short while, but it is in the end miserable. And therefore, I think it is all about sharing your achievement and looking and respecting it for others, working to share and create together a generous space that is welcoming to all and that prioritizes collective welfare. Because there are things we have to restrain ourselves in seeking if others are in fact actually, if everyone is to benefit. At the present time, what a generation you can also say as well. You're the people who are giving a lead in relation to environmental consciousness. And the big exciting thing that's going to happen in the decades to come, this is the choice. We either descend back again into conditions of war. That's where I grew up. I was born in conditions of war. We either relapse back into conditions of war and competition of the most powerful, or something else happens, and that is the consciousness that's driving young people's awareness of environmental matters is combined with the consciousness for social justice, and both are combined with the consciousness of the need for ecological responsibility. Our planet is burning. Our biodiversity is being lost. I looked last night at seabirds falling into the sea because of the new avian flu that is extended now to the wild birds of Scotland and the East Coast and so forth. And all of these consciousness, this idea of the united consciousness of, if you like, environment, social justice, ecological responsibility is going to be the achievement of the coming generation. And all of the people who work for gold are the kind of people who have such a great opportunity, and I know you will take it, to spreading the appropriate messages about the kind of society that we must have. As a poet, I must say, and I wanted to really, your words are very, very, had the ring of truth. That's all that matters in the end. But I think that we must restore our resonance with the world, with each other. Resonance is the concept. Rather, as if it was striking a string in an instrument about the way it travels out the sound. Our relationship, our resonance with each other, our resonance with the future and with the past, our resonance with nature above all else. Nature, we have in fact, as a human species, been so destructive in relation to the climate. That is why we must make sure that our better moments aren't lost. It's very important as we deal with the conditions of an immoral war and invasion, not to lose the space. We've lost it on the televisions. Now it's up to sustainable goals, which you'll see emphasised in your visit to Áras and Uachtaráin. They are more important now than ever. Issues of climate change are more important now than ever. Eliminating gross global poverty is more important than ever. You'll have seen my recent piece, maybe, in which I've been speaking about the risk we have of global famine, and particularly where I was in the Somalian famine 30 years ago. There was a famine again in 2011, and now have 17.6 million people threatened famine because they're dependent on Ukrainian and Russian grain to the extent of 90% in Somalia. And these are all the issues that when I was saying that at my age now, as I've passed 80 and things like that, it's these issues that will give you all the energy you need. And you need, in fact, actually to be effective, to be able to discuss them with other people. And you are the kind of people who are now exceptionally talented. And you're not just talented, but you've actually delivered what was required to achieve the goal. And I think that's why I think you are just so important. And where you've been doing this is in different places. You know, you've been doing it in different institutional settings. I remember saying to somebody in the Gaisce Council one time, you know, when people said that they learned a new language or that they helped other people. Well, I said there's a young girl who delivered a triple set of lambs down in Tipperary. And that's important as well. It's no matter where you are. And equally in relation to the people, for example, who have been in encampments and the people who are in relation to direct provision. And there are people who are turning their lives around. So wherever you delivered your work, it's important. When I visited the young prison for young people, the places of detention for young people and so forth, they were turning their lives around. Then there were other people who were in the adult prisons who were bringing services that were very important, like the Samaritans and all of these into it. So therefore, now, and it's important because this is Douglas de Heda, Northern Farrar, and Douglas did so much for the Irish language and reviving it, and that's why I'm very interested in speaking. So let me say, Tres Liam Levelich, as Gokra at the point Jamaica. Agus leis na tiismóirí agus gachtain a bheith cabhra clib agus vitar tuairtear irta bhí teastar iste. I think that today's sermon is an important one, It's one in which we honour the gold recipients, we appreciate their effort, we wish them well, and we very much look forward to the future contribution that they will make. There are people who have come, as it were, through a triple set of jumps, bronze and silver, onto gold itself. And I know that today is not the end of your Gaisce journey. As you have heard the chairman, you have heard the chief executive, you will before we leave, and I think that they will be encouraging you to become part of the PALs. That is, encourage others to be part of it. It is the wish of the President, it will be the wish for those who will come after me with the President's Award, to say the wider the spread of Gaisce, and the wider and the greater inclusion we're doing in awards, the better it is. I do want again, I have already the Mille Buicas, the Cóla Gaisce. I have so thanked the Gaisce Council on Cahirloch, John Cunningham, and Privain Minach, Yvonne McKenna, but every one of the council as well. I thank you for the time that you have given, and you have. I know that you have been all trying to keeping the organisation. I deeply appreciate that, and I want, as I said, to thank the award leaders, and I have already thanked the parents and all of those who have been of assistance in any way. Now, it will be in a few moments, it will be very shortly my opportunity to present all the awards. Let me say, it's such a great pleasure, yet again, to welcome you all here. Do enjoy your visit to Áras and Uachtaráin. Irish presidents have lived here since 1938. I'm the 9th president, as I said. And long before that, I think it's very important that it is, after all, the home of the President of Ireland that the people of Ireland elect. The grounds are the people of Ireland's grounds. Enjoy it all, every bit of it, because in fact, actually, what you are the future. And I think that is, while we respect the past, it is in fact actually what the shape and crafting you make of the future, where everything is going to change in your lifetime. You're going to have better economics, you're going to have better versions of society, you're going to have tasks approached with new energy and driven ethically, and all of that will have been assisted by what you have achieved through Gaisce. Again, I congratulate you all. I congratulate you for what you've achieved in this latest final achievement, but it's not the final achievement of your life, because you will have many based on your winning your gold award. Mille Buicas, Thank you.